everybody, and welcome back to another week and episode of the Flock's Nest Sports Podcast. I am Dallas, one of your hosts, as always, repping number 9 of the Baltimore Ravens, Justin Tucker.
I'm Brendan. I'm the other half of the podcast. As always, I'm repping 54, Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks.
We got a great episode for you guys today. Hopefully, you've been sticking with us. I know it's a little boring right now with preseason going on. We're trying to keep it interesting. So, we're going to talk some breaking news. We're going to talk both the Ravens and the Seahawks week 2 preseason games. We are going to talk a little WNBA because that started back up now that the Olympics are over. And hopefully, talk a little ESPN actually. So, to kick us off, Brendan, do you want to start us off with some of our breaking news?
Yeah. So the Falcons, huge shout out to them, are doing a lot right now.
Oh, yeah.
They just traded for Matthew Judon, the pass rusher from the New England Patriots. The Patriots get a third round pick in the 2025 draft in return. So Judon had some contract issues, wanted a new contract, is leaving New England, joining the Falcons. It just came out actually that he is not looking for a new contract with the Falcons right away. I think that's something that could be done next offseason or maybe middle of the season. We'll wait and see. I would imagine he wants a new contract with the Falcons. That would be something you decide when you're traded. So we'll see what he does there. The Falcons also add Justin Simmons, the free agent safety from the Denver Broncos. They signed him to a new deal. So just bolstering their safety room and that secondary. The Falcons are building a really solid team here. They're making some moves. They're looking to contend in the NFC. It's really interesting to see. A couple more things. Stephon Gilmore signed a contract with the Minnesota Vikings. So he's going to Minnesota to help their secondary room, which good to see. He's just a solid vet going into that room. So we'll see what the Vikings do. And that's it for like new signings.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see everything the Falcons are doing. I feel like the Falcons going into this next season are like the quiet, like the sleeper team that you should actually be afraid of. With everything they've done, everything they've added, they clearly, like you said, they want to contend in the NFC, which is so wide open right now. When you look at all the drama happening in San Francisco,
Drama in
um,
Dallas.
yeah, like the Eagles, we don't really know what they're going to look like with once again changing offensive and defensive coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
The news about whatever drama between Hurts and Sirianni. Like the NFC is so wide open right now. And I feel like the Falcons have poised themselves to make a legit run
Yeah.
at contending, at least for the lead in their division, which has always been kind of a weaker. I think they're really going to battle the Buccaneers for it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting to see. All the talent they have on offense. Obviously, adding Judon, especially when that was like everyone's main criticism of their draft, was they
Mm-hmm.
drafted instead of a pass rusher.
That was
Well, you can draft a young rookie quarterback and then find a free agent pass rusher. You can't really do the opposite of
mm-hmm.
drafting a pass rusher and then find a good rookie
Quarterback.
quarterback in free agency. So when, it's not like they didn't know what they needed. So to see these moves in the offseason says a lot to who they want to become as an organization.
And to me, I think they're building this team to just go for like you look at
Yeah,
who they're like they want to win now.
they want to
It's
win now.
they
They
like
want to win with Cousins,
I'm like
honestly.
yeah, if you look at like
Like
all the things they've done this offseason, I feel like you've done they had I think the worst part of their offseason, I would say, is their draft. And that's just because I
yeah.
don't know if they drafted for that win now mentality that they're going for with their signings. But I don't know how much that matters.
Yeah,
You
I
look
mean,
at like
I think it's a perfect, like, I don't know that I've seen a better balance of an organization
of yeah,
that's win now and prep for the future.
because I feel like that's what
Like,
because I'm looking at that talent of like you now have Cousins at your quarterback, you
hmm
have London and
yep,
Pitts as your receiving threats, Bijan Robinson as your running back, a pretty solid offensive line. Um, and then on defense now, you have Grady Jarrett, a good pass rusher,
yeah,
Judon, another good pass rusher. You have AJ Terrell, a good young corner. Simmons to have that back line of safeties. They're building a really solid team there in
yeah.
Atlanta. It'll be, I think,
And then they drafted a rookie quarterback who gets to sit behind one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the NFL
mhm,
for a year, potentially a year and a half, and just learn. And he's not pressured to start. I don't think Cousins is pressured to do well unless he completely collapses. Like if he looks at all like Kirk Cousins, he'll be fine. So I kind of feel like this team is like the Texans of last year. No one's really talking about them. No one's really going to expect much, but I kind of think they're going to take the NFC by storm.
yeah, I think I could see them going as far as like the NFC Championship and
Yeah.
how the NFC looks right now. A traditionally weaker division, especially when you look at the AFC right now with who they have with
Yeah.
the Chiefs, Baltimore, Bills, Bengals, a stronger conference. So for the NFC, where you have a lot of your good teams in the NFC, you all have drama. You have
Yeah.
so it's
You
interesting to
know,
see if
the only exception I think is like you look at okay, the Lions, but I think they're like Amon Ra is great, but when you only have one weapon, you are kind of weak there if he were to get hurt. Jared Goff doesn't play great when his O line doesn't protect him extremely well. And then you have the Packers, who are just extremely young. And we saw them play well last year, but you need that consistency.
yeah,
And sometimes when you have an extremely young team, you have a hard time with that.
hmm
This team has a really great balance of rookies and veterans, of the future and win now, that they're going to be able to push that. And they're going to be striving for that.
hmm
And like you said, in a weaker conference and all of your top dogs in turmoil, I don't see why they couldn't make a push like you for at least the AFC Championship game.
yeah. Um, and then just to talk quickly about Stephon Gilmore going to the Vikings, I think this is a good move for the Vikings. They needed
Yeah.
a good corner in that room. That was just kind of a young room, not a ton of veteran, not a ton of time in the league. So getting a good, solid veteran corner that can kind of be your shutdown, I think is big for the Vikings.
Mhm.
Gilmore had a good season last year with the Cowboys. So for them, this just signing makes a ton of sense to help with that defense.
Makes sense for the Vikings. I don't know what the hell Dallas is doing. Um,
Who?
yeah, I was kind of excited to see them add on defense when I think last year that was like their big weakness was defense, and everyone wants to talk about JJ McCarthy, who we are going to talk about in a minute. So if you're watching and wondering why we haven't gotten there, we're going to. Um, we saw some of the offensive moves they made, and obviously those have made some massive headlines. But when you think about kind of how their season went last year, their defense was kind of a weak spot. To see them go out and add those pieces in free agency, especially with veteran talented leadership, I think says a lot. They're another one. They're trying to build a team. I don't think they're in win now mode this year, but they are trying to.
But they're also not in rebuild.
No. And so I think just all the moves they've made have been really impressive.
Yeah. Moving on, there was a couple confirmed starters. Gardner Minshew has been confirmed as a Las Vegas Raiders starter, beating out Aiden O'Connell. And then Jaden Daniels has been confirmed as the starter in Washington, beating out Marcus Mariota. Thoughts?
You know, Las Vegas I thought was kind of a toss up. I wasn't convinced anyone really had the edge. Maybe Minshew because he's been in the league for
Yeah.
so long. and he's played with so many teams. And Minshew's a likable guy. I think
Yeah,
he wins locker rooms over really easily. So I'm not really shocked. I don't think I would have been shocked if they'd named Aiden O'Connell. I would have been like, okay, like,
he just did better.
yeah. Neither one of them put up great numbers during preseason games, so they really made this decision off of practices and what they're seeing. Um, so yeah, I'm not in that room, but I wouldn't have been shocked either way. Jaden Daniels, of course he is. Like, of
Yeah.
course he is. Um, Obviously we're just now getting that news, but we were confident when they
Hmm.
drafted him. Mariota is a backup. Like,
Yeah.
that's how he's played. That's who he is. I don't think his talent just quite meets the
Yeah.
needs or the standards, especially for a team like Washington, who has been a dumpster fire for the last like 10 years. They're genuinely trying to rebuild everything over there with new ownership, new culture, new coaching staff.
Yeah.
You want your young rookie quarterback to come in and be part of that culture building. So I'm not shocked at this. I think, we kind of talked about it the other day when they did Minshew. You make that decision now so that they stop splitting first team reps. So through the
Yeah.
rest of training camp and the rest of preseason, Jaden is getting all of the first team reps. But he looks really good in preseason. I think you can clearly see his talent. You can see his ability to go off script,
Hmm.
but he doesn't need to. He's okay with sitting in the pocket, making the call, playing the calls that are given to him. He looks really good. Everyone's really high on Caleb Williams right now, and I get it. He was the number one draft pick. There's a lot of talent there. But to see what these other rookie quarterbacks have done has been extremely impressive. And I liked watching Jaden Daniels play. I saw some highlights of him over the weekend. I saw some today, and yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I think he's exciting. It's another one. They have a young team. Um, so to name the young guy your starter, I'm not shocked.
No. Uh, I'm not shocked by either. Minshew being confirmed in Las Vegas. I kind of thought he had the edge coming into that, purely because he is a veteran and has been around the
Yeah,
league for a while. So for him to get confirmed based on what I've seen, like again, neither of them had great stats in the preseason, and I we can't watch Las Vegas Raiders practice because that's not really who we follow. So I haven't been
yeah,
watching that. So based on everything I've seen, it makes sense for Minshew to get the nod, and then now not split first team reps, really get those good valuable reps with the first team, heading into the third preseason game, and then heading into the season. And then Jaden Daniels, I think everyone knew he was going to start. He was the second overall pick. Um, Everyone kind of figured he would start right away. I don't think Mariota was ever going to get in his way of starting. It would have
no,
taken it would have taken a Geno-sized resurrection in his career for me to sit there and go, "You're going to start." So for Jaden Daniels to get it now, I think is also valuable because he's now going to be guaranteed first team reps all the way through camp. Where
yeah,
I think him and Mariota were splitting it for a little bit. I don't know how long that lasted, but there was a point where there was a competition happening for their starting quarterback job. But so yeah, Jaden Daniels getting confirmed in Washington is big for the rookie. So
yeah.
glad to see that.
Kind of other rookie quarterback news. Obviously, some really unfortunate news coming out of Minnesota last week with JJ McCarthy having torn his meniscus. When he went into surgery, they weren't sure if they were going to do a full repair or just trim it. They did have to do a full repair, which makes it a season ending injury.
Hmm.
Um, you know, we were pretty confident Sam Darnold was going to get the start.
Yeah.
And I wanted that. I wanted for two reasons. I am not as convinced like everybody else that Darnold is a complete bust. I'm not saying that he's guaranteed a starting job in the NFL, but I would like to see what he can do with an offensive minded head coach, a quarterback head coach, someone that knows how to develop all of those things. So I think this was the Vikings was Darnold's best chance. And then for JJ to be able to have some time
Yeah.
to really sit and learn. Now we talked he looked really good in his first preseason game. I
Mm,
think a lot of people were surprised at how much he was able to do because Michigan, his offense was a little more limited because that's how Harbaugh likes to run his offenses. Um, but I want him to sit, but that also means getting in those reps. And now you're kind of chained to a chair
yeah.
and rehab. So I'm not sure, yes, you'll get to see the process. Yes, you'll get to still be a part of those meetings. I do not think that injured sitting time clear like it's definitely not as
No.
valuable if he had just been named the backup for this year or to start and
Mhm.
still getting that time. So hopefully it doesn't truly limit his ability to progress. Um, but yeah, it is gonna have an impact. Obviously I feel bad for him.
It
It is football. Like you're pretty much guaranteed an injury at some point in your career.
mhm.
Um, I do think for him it's kind of like, okay, well I wasn't gonna start anyway, so it's okay. It's not really a knock on him. Especially how the whole story came out is his knee was just a little sore the day after the game. He was trying to power through and push through, and then finally a trainer was like, "Hey, I want to take a look at that," and they discovered it was torn. That's like Matt Stafford level shit right there.
Yeah.
The shoulders out. I'm gonna throw the ball. That's some incredible toughness. So I'm excited for his career after this.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it means he's injury prone. Meniscuses happen, ACLs happen. Um,
I don't
this is just part of it.
yeah. Until it's a reoccurring event, he's not injury
Yeah.
prone. If this is like a
So
you tear it like
the
twice,
first of many.
but knock on wood, there's wood over
Yeah.
here, that he comes back and is uh, a starting quarterback in the future. Because I really thought that by like mid-season, he would take over as the starter there. I thought
Yeah.
not that it wasn't that Darnold would play himself out of it. I just thought McCarthy kind of played himself in, or like they would
No,
try
that's
it
fair.
out. But I still think this is a great opportunity for Darnold. Hope he takes
By,
full advantage of it.
by
Sucks,
far, I think the best opportunity he's been given.
yeah, sucks for McCarthy. But for McCarthy, I think it's important now to just accept the injury and just try to focus more on the mental aspect because I think that's going to be the huge thing for him. Is playing quarterback in the NFL is a huge mental game. You got to learn all the plays, you got to understand all the reads, all that. So I think for him to be able to step back and kind of just worry about the mental side of the game for right now is the way to go. I think that will get you the most development while you're hurt. It's not as good as being able to do it live in like a practice setting or a game setting, but even now, just get those reps, get the mental reps, get what you can. I think will be huge for him. Just really unfortunate to see that.
Well, when you mentioned the mental, like you talked about that, I think that's going to be an interesting factor. Is so many players talk about when you get hurt,
Oh yeah.
especially an injury that genuinely sidelines you for a long time, it's not letting the depression kind of take over. They all say that they go through it, but it's being able to move through it. And then when you're healthy, trusting yourself and
hmm
trusting your body and trusting that knee. So it's going to be, it's unfortunate, but it's kind of a test for the rookie to see how are you going to handle all of this. I think it's a good chance to kind of test your support system
hmm
outside of football. Do you have the right people around you that want to see you succeed versus anything else. So
Yeah.
um, it's a bummer, but there can be good that comes
Yeah.
from it. You just have to be able to look at it that way.
Yeah. It's almost a necessary evil in a way.
Yeah,
Like this could just be a great developmental thing. Like it sucks a lot, not denying
yeah.
that, but it is could be helpful to development as a quarterback.
This could be. This can have its upsides. You just have to be able to find them.
Yeah. Continuing in rookie quarterbacks, we'll start with the first overall pick,
Oh
Caleb
gosh.
Williams. Looked pretty solid in his two preseason games. The second one, he looked pretty good. I just watched highlights. Thought he looked all right. Had some good throws. Had some kind of rookie moments. But other than that, I think he looks pretty solid.
I think he looks as advertised.
Yeah.
It's preseason, so like I think the stat line he was 6 of 13 for 75 yards. That's not a good stat line,
No.
but it's preseason. Like he throws a beautiful ball. He does the off script stuff well. Um, the real test right now you're just trying to get live bullets flying.
Hmm.
The real test comes like week 2, 2 and 3. Week 1 we've always talked about is a lie. Uh, some of your starters are playing for the first time. I never judge a team off of week 1. I think he looks good. I do think, and I do see kind of the concern everyone was talking about of can you stay on script?
Hmm. Yeah.
Can you make the play called? And that's going to be interesting to see. I feel like I've been really down on Caleb Williams, not because of him or anything he's done, but I'm so hesitant with the Bears. They're a franchise known for screwing up quarterbacks, and Eberflus is a defensive coach. But I see upsides. I root for all quarterbacks. I like a competitive league. I think it's interesting. I was I was kind of thinking about this earlier today to see how young the league has gotten, and with all of this new talent that's coming in, um, I am rooting for him. I'm not. I don't think I'm as high on him as everybody else is. Um, I'm trying not to focus more on the mistakes, but I definitely see them.
Yeah. Again, he looks about as the rookie I thought he would be. Um, make some really great plays, make some not so great ones at times. Is good at off script, might struggle on script. So it we'll really see. I think once again by week 3, I think is like the true test for him. Once we get to week 3, when everybody's
Yeah,
like up to speed again, I think we'll start to see whether he's living up to that number one overall pick, which unfortunately I don't think anyone can because I think that's just like an inherent thing with the number one overall pick. There's so much pressure. There's so much um, just uh, you have to
hype.
yeah you have to perform a certain way, and I just don't think a lot of rookie quarterbacks can live up to that hype and pressure. So um, I personally probably won't call him a bust no matter what happens this year. Um,
Yeah, no, I don't think year one is.
worthy.
I think the problem is, and I keep hearing this, is everyone wants to look at what CJ Stroud did last year. At number 2, he was drafted, and then they won a playoff game. And that's great. But that's not the standard, and that's not the norm.
Hmm.
Like, it's normal for a rookie quarterback to struggle. It's normal for them to lose games. It's normal for them to have busted
Bad
coverages,
games.
snaps, and all of those things. And I think with the first overall pick, we're so impatient.
Yeah,
We want to see results right here, right now, turn around a franchise, take them to the conference game. That's not even remotely realistic, even for a team who, on their own, wouldn't have had the number one overall pick. They got it from Carolina.
Hmm.
He's still a rookie quarterback. He's still a young man entering the league, figuring out how the NFL works.
Yeah,
Um, we're gonna talk way more about him when we get into Hard Knocks in a couple weeks, but let's just be realistic with our expectations.
yeah. And then moving on to the third round, third overall pick, since we already talked a little bit about James Daniels, Drake May.
Yep.
He's also looked pretty good. He's, I think, taking the backup role to Jacoby Brissett, which is not overly surprising to me. I think that's actually a good move for the Patriots, considering just how bad that roster is overall. Not a ton of weapons, not the best O line. I think to help Drake May, I think you kind of want to sit him, have him sit for a little bit, keep him safe, keep him from losing his confidence right away. I think that's a big
Yeah.
one. So he's looked pretty solid. I do think he'll still probably be the backup to Jacoby Brissett come week one, but I don't know if that's a slight on him or if it's a the Patriots want to kind of play it safer.
So I think he looked really good this second game. You could see clear improvements on footwork and accuracy and all those things. You can tell he's definitely learning.
Yeah,
Um, I'm kind of concerned they're gonna start him because he is making those improvements. I think even if he wins the job, you should still start Brissett. It's easy to go from Brissett to
May.
Drake May. Like, I do not expect this team to be good, really, no matter who's at quarterback.
Yeah,
Um, you don't have any wide receiver, you don't have any weapons. There's no one to catch the ball. We saw that multiple times while Jaden was on the field for this preseason game. He threw a great ball, nobody to catch it. It was like, well, so it's easy to kind of put the losses and the frustrations on Brissett. He's a veteran, he's a career backup. This isn't really gonna screw up his confidence or his development.
yeah.
Um, I don't know what the Patriots are doing. I'm so confused.
Uh,
Um,
your guess is as
you
good as
made
mine.
a push for Ayuk. There are free agent wide receivers available. Um, I don't know why you would get rid of your best player in Judon because that's what you did. Um, I'm just confused as to what your goal is for this season. So yeah, I would sit him. I am concerned that as we see improvements from Drake May, because they haven't announced a starter yet,
He ends up.
that they'll start him. And I think then you rush his development. And while I'm not saying there weren't other issues, we also rushed Mac Jones. And while it was cool year one, we just declined after that.
Yeah,
And I don't want the same thing to happen here.
no,
So yeah, I agree. I do think he should sit for at least 5, 6 weeks, maybe through their bye week.
hmm
Obviously, I'm not looking at their schedule. I don't know exactly what week that is,
I don't either.
but I think sit him,
Yeah.
no matter how good he looks.
Um, we talked about JJ McCarthy.
Yep.
Again, sad happening.
Bo Nix.
Michael Penix is just going to be the backup
Oh,
to um, Cousins.
yeah,
He's not even going to play in the third preseason game. He's already the backup in Atlanta, and he's not going to overtake Cousins. So Penix really is just going to sit there. I think that's pretty smart. Again,
yeah. There's
kind of talked about
absolutely
it.
no reason to rush that development.
No.
None.
Yeah.
Cousins, if Cousins is physically able to start, there's absolutely zero reason for him not to.
Yeah. And then Bo Nix was the last quarterback drafted in the first round, and he's been one of the better looking quarterbacks this preseason in
He's
terms of rookie.
crushing it.
He's looked really good. Yesterday against the Packers, he led 3 drives.
Yeah,
He led two or
two,
th-
two.
2 or 3 drives, all of them ending in a score. The first one was a field goal.
Oh
Kind
yeah,
of
it was
a
good.
it was 2 or 3. All of them ended in a score. A good touchdown in there on the second drive. He looks like the week one starter in Denver. Um, Stidham looked okay. I didn't see a ton of Zach Wilson out there.
Looked
I
terrible. Looked terrible.
but I do. I think Bo Nix is the week one starter there in Denver, and his college experience is showing up huge. I think if you're
Oh
looking
yeah.
at it, he's got the reads down. He's just making plays right now that I feel like are only being made by someone of the kind of experience Nix has. So we're seeing the college experience, the multiple offenses all coming together, and he's looking really good. We're both kind of Broncos fans. Like
Yeah.
we we were from Colorado, so we grew up kind of watching the Broncos. But we both chose different teams, but we still kind of cheer and root for the Broncos. So we're really looking forward to see Bo Nix out there leading that team, trying to get them back to what they used to be.
Maybe if you hadn't destroyed 7 quarterbacks, I'd still be a Broncos or something, whatever.
You know,
This doesn't matter. Anyway, I was really impressed by Bo Nix as well as excited. I know there are concerns like he's a little bit older than most rookie quarterbacks. I really liked that. There were some
yeah,
things he did that it wasn't just his experience, but his maturity.
hmm
He recognized when plays were his fault. He took responsibility. I mean, that's a guy. I feel like he walks into a locker room and at his age and his college experience, and he kind of garners that level of respect. And then when he steps onto the field, you see all of those things come to fruition.
hmm
And it looks really good. I think he's 6 of 7 drives he's scored on through
yeah,
both preseason games. That's really impressive. Yes, I know they're playing against like basic defenses and all these things, but just to see him come in and everyone kind of go, "Oh, I don't think he was a first round draft pick," or "Oh, I don't can he be a guy or are we drafting a backup?" And to see him play at the level he's playing, his pocket awareness, his ability to make reads, we talked about last week, not every quarterback and not even some of the greats had this one thing, but they managed really well. They knew how to read the field really well. It This isn't like an over, but it gave kind of an old Peyton Manning with the Broncos vibe of like just we're in control.
yeah,
The offense has an identity which
hmm
we've been missing in Denver for so long.
yeah.
Um, Hackett and Wilson, that was not anything. Um,
Everybody before Wilson,
yeah,
after
Peyton and
Manning,
Wilson. Yeah, and everybody after man, and that's just clown show. That's not even. So it's really exciting. Like I'm not trying to be so high on Bo Nix or like compare him to Peyton Manning, but you can clearly see that him and Sean Payton are building an identity.
hmm
Um,
which the Broncos have
I
not had a while.
I think they're kind of the dark horse of the AFC.
I could see
Uh,
that.
I think they're in Vegas. They're favored at 5 wins. I think they'll be a little better. They have a solid defense. So and seeing what Peyton did with Drew Brees and now having Bo Nix, who sees the field really well, has experience, has that maturity. I'm not saying they're going to compete against the Ravens or the Bills or
Or
the
the
Chiefs this
yeah,
first year, but I could easily see them being kind of your dark horse wild card.
hmm
I said to you the other day that I thought the Broncos and potentially the Chargers playoff berth was dependent on the AFC North
yeah.
and how many of those teams made a push for the playoffs. And then I watched the Steelers' second preseason game, and I'm pretty convinced that the Broncos are gonna have a shot for a wild card round.
Yeah,
So, um,
we'll see.
it was exciting to see.
Yeah.
It was a
Um,
travesty, bro. It was a travesty.
I
Just a
bet.
train wreck. It was hilarious.
You know, decides to sign two meh quarterbacks.
They got hit between the two of them 10 times.
Jesus Christ.
They got sacked 4 times because they have a terrible O-line.
Yeah, that's rough. Um,
Wilson went 3 and out twice, just back to back 3 and out, and it was over. Didn't move the ball at all. I think it was in, like, 3 series, he didn't get a single first down.
dude, he's
It was terrible.
God. Seattle won that trade. Oh,
And then people wanna sit here and tell me that Justin Fields is potentially the future and Russell Wilson's gonna fix Pittsburgh.
yeah,
Need no line, bro. Need no line.
yeah.
It is
Pittsburgh.
bad.
Pittsburgh's
It's
one man.
so, but yeah,
I
so that was kinda rookie quarterbacks. Um, Preseason games, yeah, Steelers, it's good luck.
I guess
We are gonna
sticking out of the division. You want to talk Ravens training camp?
yeah, let's do it. So to start, some unfortunate news. Their offensive line coach, Joe D'Alessandrius, was hospitalized with an acute illness. They're not being more specific than that. It's obviously his private information. Um, so he is no longer with the team. They are waiting for his return. They do say that his job will be there if he wants it when he's ready. But in the meantime, they added George Warhop from the Texans. Um, that's kind of exciting. They had a pretty good O line last year. I'm a little concerned that this change is coming now. Obviously, we wish the best for Joe. We don't want things like that to happen. But having to change position coaches about halfway through training camp when I have a very new O line gives me some concern.
Yeah,
Um, we, they looked pretty good this last week against played the Falcons, right?
yeah.
Against the Falcons. Obviously they gave up 1 sack for Johnson on that left side. I'm not overly shocked by that because while yes, I expect Voorhees to start at left guard, without Stanley out there, the line is only so
So
solid. Like
yeah,
you have two potential starters and everybody else is a backup. We saw some problems with Ben Cleveland at center. He's not the starter. But they did look pretty good. Other than that, I was excited what I saw from Voorhees and Rosengarten. I really do think they've won that job. It hasn't been announced. That's a Ravens thing. They just like to torture me.
I feel
But I
it.
do think they've
I feel
yeah,
it.
I think they've won that job. They have kind of secured their spots. The Ravens draft very intentionally. They drafted Voorhees last year, even though he was hurt, because he was a top projected pick until he got hurt. So they were more than fine with him sitting and learning for a week or a year, and now getting that development out of him.
Hmm.
And he knows how to watch film. He knows how to do these things. He sat behind a starter. So I am excited there. Obviously, Rosengarten at right tackle, I'm happy with, again, you were Penix's blindside blocker. I think he's earned that role. Um, Going into next week, I'd love to see the whole genuine O line out there together. Get them some reps before the first season starts because a beat writer has said that the O line does not look good. One thing to note out of that though is Linderbaum has been missing with a neck injury for most of training camp, so I'm not taking too much of that to heart. I also think the article was written last week. I think there was potential. There were some distractions last week with Joe dealing with his illness, and that group being concerned for him. So we'll see. Rest of the offense looked pretty decent. It's basic. It's pretty rudimentary. Obviously, Lamar didn't play. He hasn't played a preseason game since 2021. He's not going to. The only time he plays preseason is when he's coming off of a injury that sidelined him for the second half just to get him some reps. That wasn't the case last year. They had a deep playoff run. We're not going to see him. We might start to see some more of like the starting wide receivers next game, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I really think Owen Wright has won running back 3 spot. I He looked really good the other day against the Falcons. Ali was hurt, so it's not really his fault he didn't get those reps. But when you look at the tape that they both put out week 1 versus the Eagles, what Wright did yesterday, I just think he's kind of won that job. So hopefully some good things there. Special teams, we're gonna hardline real quick. Um, Tucker looks good, obviously, kicking well on PATs and field goals. We are seeing some kickoff struggles. He's been kicking the same way for like 14 years. So I'm not surprised by that. I'm glad he's getting the reps. A lot of times the Ravens will sign a second kicker during preseason just to rest Tucker, or they'll let their punter right now, who's stout, take some of those things to rest him. I am glad that he's getting this kickoff experience with the new rules. He did have the one in the Falcons game that went out the sideline, which puts the ball at the 40-yard line. So obviously we don't want that. But I'd rather he make those mistakes now. Make him learn from him. He's obsessive. I'm sure he's watched the tape on that 100 times already to fix it and not do that again. So good things happening there. I saw some really great things special teams wise in terms of the return or the defending team. We never really let a returner get too far. A lot of our defenders were fast to the ball, fast to the return man. Um, so a lot of good things happening there. Obviously, with Harbaugh being a special teams guy, I think he's been really obsessive with this new rules and building a really good team for that. As for the return man, I think Pepe Williams made a really good push for that role. But we do still have Tylan Wallace, so we'll see. I kind of think this will be one of like my deeper wide receiver years. Typically the room isn't massive, but I think there's potential with the new rules that we'll have a slightly deeper room. Um, and then also Ismaili got some reps. Didn't look awesome. Uh, I am still hoping for the kid. I really am, but it didn't look great. So maybe a practice squad guy. Maybe you'll get to keep this jersey, and that will be really awesome. Uh, so there's that. Um, Defense looked really good. I was happier with the tackling this game versus the first. Yes, we did still dive more at the feet, but I still saw more wrapping up. We were grabbing the legs, not just trying to chop them off. Um, so I was happier with that. Obviously, we did really well against the run. That's always exciting. Um, Ojabo played a little bit with the Falcons. He looked good. I'm always hesitant to be excited for him. Again, he's hurt a lot. I, I I want him to be healthy. I want him to be a difference maker on this team. Um, I think if he can be healthy and consistent, he will be. But we have to get there first. Um, Simpson looked really good. Obviously, he's meant to be Roquan's running mate at inside linebacker. He looked really awesome, playing hard, playing fast, a lot of tackles. So that was exciting. Um, Robinson looked really good, playing like a Raven. He had a little press conference where he talked about it. Um, just kind of killing guys out there. It looks great. I know everyone's been kind of concerned, or I've heard some knocks on what our defense may or may not be this year. to see it at its rudimentary level and how good it's been. I'm pretty excited. And Roquan gave a sideline interview during the Falcons game, and he was asked about Zach Orr, and he was really excited for him. He's like, "No, we're going to be a great defense. We know what Orr has been able to do, and this is just him finally getting his shot." So it's good to hear that he's got his teammates on his side, and he's got Roquan as a leader in the defense on his side. Um, if Roquan's happy, who am I to complain? So yeah, good things. We play the Packers next week, and they are going to do some joint practices. See how that goes. It always gets chippy with the Ravens. Mark Andrews is a fighter, so we'll see what happens there. Moving on to injury news. Uh, TJ Tampa came off the pup list with a sports hernia, which is really exciting. They were projecting him to be ready for week 1. Looks like that's still kind of on track. Idisa Isaac left the game the other day with some cramping. Nothing major, just some, mild issues. Get him some Gatorade, get him an IV, see if he's available to practice. Mark Andrews was in a car accident on Wednesday. Everyone says he's fine and he was completely unscathed, but he's yet to practice since then. So I'm not sure what that means. I also took extreme notice that while Lamar was on the sideline, he was talking to Likely and Flowers. And then at some point, Henry was next to him, and I noticed Andrews' absence. So I feel like I'm being lied to. Um, I'm I'm just confused. I don't want to use the word concerned. Harbaugh says he's fine. I would just I feel like I need like a proof of life video, I need like evidence. It's okay. Like I would like to see him run and catch a ball or tackle somebody or even a fight video versus Green Bay next week. That's acceptable too. I just need something because right now you're scaring me. Wiggins has returned to practice. He actually returned to practice before the Falcons game. I was pretty confident they weren't going to play him. No reason to rush your first round pick back. Let's get him some rest. He looked really good during the first game. Let's just make sure his shoulder's okay. But he has returned to practice. Kyle Hamilton also returned to practice last week. Obviously, he didn't play, but he was out there warming up with the guys. He did suit up for warm-ups. He looked good. Looked balanced on that knee. That knee's just always a pain for him. And then I kind of mentioned, but Linderbaum is still out with the neck injury, but expected to be back for week 1. He's another one. They're not going to force it, especially with the way Ben Cleveland looks. Once he's cleared, he's cleared. Once he's cleared for contact. Yeah, I'd like to see that whole starting O-line this coming week. I'm not going to. I'd like to see a lot of things. I'm not going to get it. So that's okay. But overall, it was a good week. Obviously, they got their first preseason win since their streak ended last year against the Commanders. So hopefully, we're starting a new streak. We'll see how they do next week against Green Bay, but I think good things are happening. A lot to be excited about.
Good to hear. Good to
Um,
hear.
all right, Brennan, you want to tell us about Seattle?
I would love to. So the Seahawks had their preseason game down in Tennessee against the Titans. They spent the whole week in Tennessee. They did some joint practices. This is the first time Seattle's done joint practices in a long time. Pete Carroll never did them. This is a Ravens thing. So McDonald said that he would consider it, considering his time with the Ravens. And then it came out recently that they were going to do it with the Titans. So they were in Tennessee and they did joint practices. Everything looked good. Practices went well. One major injury came out of it, and I'll get to that later. There was no fights during the joint practices, which was great. There was a couple almost fights. There were some moments that Had some
Good.
people
I feel
who,
like no fighting at all is kind of sketchy. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I think that's a little weird.
yeah,
Like
the
you
Sea
want them chirpy, you want them aggressive, you want
like
them pissed
there
off at
was
each other. Like
there
you
was some
want a little bit.
there was chippiness. There was no punches thrown. I think that's like the
That's good. No reason for guys to fuck up their hands.
yeah. I think Seattle got all their fights out the week before. Or, they were fighting each other. Um, but yeah, no punches thrown. So that was all good. I think that's good on both sides. But yeah, some real good competitive practices going on from what I heard saw. Um, in the game against Tennessee, no starters played because all the starters got really good reps during joint practices. That's why you do them. You do joint practices as like you get the ones good reps, ones on ones. It's in a more controlled environment. That way, like less injuries can happen, less stuff can go wrong. So it was good. They got some good reps. So a lot of backups, a lot of third stringers played. The first half was good. The second half, not so much. In the first half,
I saw that.
Sam Howell played the whole half. He looked really good, really good. Um, Threw a really good touchdown pass to Aesop Winston in the corner of the end zone. Beautiful plays football. Only
Yeah,
Winston could get it. Winston showed really good late hands to snag it. Just Howell looked really in control of the offense this week. He just was making the right plays, making the right reads, doing all the things. No passes that I thought were like interceptable or just like bad.
yeah,
Made really good decisions, avoided some sacks, avoided made some good runs with his legs. Just looked like a solid quarterback. He was just doing everything right out there, which I love to see. I want a good backup in case Geno Smith goes down. In no way is Sam Howell taking over as starter for Geno. Uh,
not this year.
no. In the future, possibly. We'll see. See what happens. Speaking, especially with Geno Smith and like the contract dispute that's kind of going on. I said kind of. I
Yeah,
don't really. He said something about wanting an extension. I'm hearing some different things. I don't really know a whole ton on it.
you're
Uh,
not gonna get it.
yeah. But yeah, Howell looked good. Um, the first half defense looked pretty solid. There was a touchdown allowed in the first half. Um, just kind of a miscommunication on defense between a couple rookies. Not a huge thing. But other than that, the defense played really well. Like Derek Hall, Boye Mafe. Boye Mafe is probably the only starter that played significant minutes. And I really think that was just because technically he's not listed as a starter right now. He's listed behind Draymond Jones, but Draymond Jones has been dealing
Mhm.
with a little bit of an injury. So I think Boye Mafe is just playing a little bit right now since he's not listed as a starter, but he kind of will be depending on the situation there. Um, but him and Hall looked great off the edge. Byron Murphy, looked good on the D tackle. He only played a little bit. I think they're kind of just taking the approach of you've put a lot of good stuff on tape. Let's keep you healthy.
Yeah,
Let's not risk anything. Um, Other than that, defense looked really good in that first half, pretty solid. Second half, not so much. Um, the defense looked there was a lot of penalties on defense, a lot of miscommunications, a lot of issues. Now, I will say the second half defense was a lot of third and fourth stringers that are just not going to make the roster. It's unfortunate, but they're playing in the second half of the second preseason game for a reason. They're just
yeah,
not likely to make the team. There's some good moments still. Ty Okada had a pretty solid interception, um, but that was pretty much the only like highlight for the Seahawks in the second half. PJ Walker looked terrible. He could not move the ball. Part of that was the third string O line looks terrible. That's not overly surprising to me, considering the Seahawks are not the deepest on the offensive line. There's a lot of questions there. I think that's the position group that has me the most concerned going into the season. I think starting wise, we might be all right, but depth wise, I just don't think we have a ton there. So that is a little bit concerning. But PJ Walker still just didn't look good. A lot of bad accuracy, no good like thrown balls. Just didn't push the offense. Didn't really control the offense like Sam Howell did. Uh, so I would not be surprised if like somebody became available and the Seahawks decided to cut Walker, go a different direction. But I don't know if they will. He'll end up being on the practice squad anyway. So like I don't know how worried I am with that, especially since Sam Howell's the backup right now. Um, but yeah, the offense just didn't look good. Didn't move the ball. Defense was just
A lot of penalties.
a lot of penalties. DJ James, the rookie out of Auburn, sixth round pick, had a couple bad penalties in that game. He just kind of struggled, so it's unfortunate. But he's kind of a candidate for cuts. Just the second half was definitely meh. It was just not good. But McDonald said that I saw some stuff that I kind of like still, but again, we'll see. It's preseason. I'm not overly worried. They did get their first loss of the season and first loss under Mike McDonald. Um, Lost by 1 point, which came from a Jason Myers missed PAT in the first half. Um, that's the second one this preseason in back-to-back games. He's missed a PAT, which is weird because he's perfect on field goals. Every field goal looks great. Hit a 50-yarder this game that looked money straight down the middle. Was good from like 60. So I don't know what's going on with PATs, but like kickoffs look great. He's had one mess up on kickoff where it landed a little short, but I kind of think that was a instruction type thing of, hey, we want you to try something, and he did it. Didn't work out. We moved on, but yeah, missed another PAT. Kind of concerning, kind of not. The fact he's making his field goals still gives me a lot of like, okay, so something's going on with PATs, but you're still making important stuff. I can kind of live with a PAT miss here or there, but it is kind of concerning that
Yeah,
oh, you're 1 for like 3 on PATs right now. That's not very
gotta
good.
get that fixed. Gotta get that fixed.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that.
No, no. God, I don't have that kind of problems.
But into injury news, because there was a new injury. Pharaoh Brown was carted off during the joint practices. He has a foot injury, severity unknown. McDonald has not given a ton of information on it. Uh, God, not a ton of information's come out, but something that has happened is Seattle just signed 2 tight ends to the roster. They signed Mike Ezeki, Ezeki, uh, and Devin Garrison. They're just bringing in depth. Uh, they had Pharaoh Brown go down, and then Jack Westover, the undrafted free agent out of Washington. The tight end is had as a hamstring, so he didn't play on Saturday. So I think this really is just a two depth
Precaution.
signings of like 2 guys like in a pinch you could throw in, get rest for like Noah Fant and Brady Russell, who are the 2 tight ends right now that are, and AJ Barner, who are the 3 tight ends that right now are going to play on the roster. So we'll really see. They're just 2 depth signings. I don't see them doing a whole ton, but I guess we'll see in the third preseason if one really stands out. I guess we'll see. But yeah, and then nothing new on Abe Lucas, which has me terrified at the moment. Um, I would like him off the pup list so that he can start practicing. I don't think if he's not off the pup list this week, and not practicing, I don't think he's ready to go week 1. And I kind of think we need him. George Fant has not played in any of the preseason games. I think that's partly just like a veteran thing, and I don't think Seattle's willing to risk their only other right tackle
Yeah,
during preseason. Like it, you just can't. He's the only other guy right now that I feel comfortable playing right tackle, considering what we saw during preseason with McClendon Curtis and Greenfield. Just both of them did not look great. So I for the offensive line to truly come together, Abe Lucas has to be in there. but he's still not off the pup list, so we'll really see what happens there. Hoping for news this week that he's off. Nothing new on Cam Young either. Still on the pup list. The defensive tackle. I think he's also really needed because he's the only other nose tackle on this roster other than Jonathan Hankins. And for them two to be able to rotate each other would be huge. Right now, Seattle's kind of getting away with it with some smaller guys that are kind of rotating in and out at that nose tackle spot. But I think having another bigger, like Jonathan Hankins type, in there to really stuff the run, help him get rest too, is huge. So nothing new on Cam Young, which is unfortunate. Uh, Jerome Baker is still out with that hamstring injury. He has not returned to practice. This one, I'm a little less worried. Like, it's still big. He's still one of the starting linebackers. But from what I've seen from John Radigan and Tyrese Knight, if Baker's not ready week one with Tyrell Dotson, I think one of those two, Radigan or Knight, can come in and be just fine. Tyrese Knight led the team in tackles Saturday, and Radigan looked really good in week one. So if either of them have to come in and play at linebacker for the first couple weeks, I'm not overly worried. It is still like Jerome Baker's still the starter. He's still better than them. But if he's not ready to go, I'm not necessarily worried. I would still like him out there. And then last but not least, Connor Williams, still nothing new on whether he's practicing yet or not. He was just signed last week, is coming off the ACL tear. Everything's pointing to him being ready week one. So we'll see if he returns to practice this week before the Browns game. I kind of hope he does. This way we can just get him kind of going before week one. Maybe even start in that Browns game just for like a series, maybe two, just to get some reps in. Possibly even with the starters. I don't really know what the plan is going into week three. Normally, this is when teams tend to play some of their starters for like the first quarter. So we'll see if the Seahawks do that. They've been kind of mixing it. McDonald's been a little bit different with it. So he did starters week one on defense, no starters week two since of the joint practice. So we'll see what they do week three against the Browns in Seattle. Um, but other than that, there's really been nothing else. The game they lost, but it was fine. They still had some good tape. The second half tape wasn't great, but they'll get better. It's preseason. I don't really care.
I did watch the first half with you,
Yeah,
roughly the first half. Howell did look really good. We've mentioned on here, we've talked outside of here, obviously, that you kind of expect Howell to be the future plan.
yeah,
Um, so to see him have that command and have that confidence, and clearly he's building the repertoire with his wide receivers, looked really good. So that was cool to see. You are clearly seeing like Mike McDonald's defense. Um, in the first half. I know in the second half you had some issues, but I think you're starting to see at least the intensity ramp
yeah.
up,
Uh,
the tackling.
and there was some
Um,
more missed tackles in the second half of last game, but
yeah,
still not a ton. And compared to last year, I don't want to compare a ton to last year, but you kind of have to. Um, I just thought this game, even still, the defense struggled. I still think they did better than they would have last year.
and
The
that's
intensity
that's
looked better. The defensive line was doing some really interesting stunts and stuff, which looked
yeah.
really nice. They just seem to be
Um,
playing they're playing harder. They're playing more physical. They're really out there. Like the Ty Okada interception came off a tipped ball. The interception last week for Kobe Bryant came off a huge hit that caused a tip
yeah,
ball in the air. So we're seeing them flying around on defense again. The second
and
half,
I think
some mistakes were made, but they're younger players, they're rookies, they're guys that are on the edge of the roster or off the roster essentially. So I'm not really worried.
well, and I think not to take away from him, but you do see this a lot. Like when new coaches come in, you kind of
Hmm.
see a revitalization of energy and effort. Um, so while yes, McDonald is doing a lot, and I think he's clearly impacting the team. Um, with a lot of young guys, I think you're seeing that revitalization. And I saw it, the missed PAT. That's weird. Um, if you're making field goals, I don't know what you're doing, but gots to fix that, bro. Yeah, I don't, I
Um,
don't, I
and
don't know
he's
how teams live with those kinds of problems. I don't. That's not.
Buffer. I hate you. I hate you.
Like,
It's
I don't know what I would do. Um,
but especially because Myers has been a consistent kicker in the league. I don't know what's
yeah.
going on. I don't know
Um,
what's going on.
I have instead. They're like he's kicking the ball better than ever after a down year last year, and he was still like top of the league. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
um,
All right. Well, we were gonna talk quickly. The ESPN came out with their power rankings today, which was
mhm.
pretty interesting and exciting. The Ravens came in at number 2, only behind Kansas City. I was a little shocked at the placement to begin with, simply because so many people in the media want to focus on what they lost as a team. When you talk defensively and with McDonald leaving. So to have Baltimore at 2, to me, just kind of solidifies some of the things I've been saying about not all of these losses are they're not really a big deal. Like, yeah, I'm a little concerned about the O line, but I'm not concerned defensively. So to have them come in at 2 is pretty exciting. They have Ronnie Stanley, the left tackle, on the hot seat. I would very much agree with that. He was not given a contract extension this offseason. This is a prove it year. It's not because of can you do the job well. It's can you stay on the field. Um, Unfortunately, it's kind of a double-edged sword. He plays extremely hard. He is a great left tackle. Him and Lamar have this unspoken connection. He seems to always know when Lamar's going to go off script. He knows when to block way past the O line marker for him. They have a great relationship when he's healthy. Because he plays so hard, because he's been in the league a long time, he's he's not all on the field. I think as good as he is, he's a massive cap hit. Um, he did take a pay cut going into this year, at about $8 million to try and alleviate some of that. But if he can't stay healthy, they're probably going to be looking at replacing him. They did draft a left tackle last year, that sits behind him. So we'll see, kind of how that goes. Obviously, we're seeing that left tackle get reps in preseason. It doesn't look awesome. I don't think that will be the future plan. Unfortunately, I can't even tell you that guy's name. Um, so we'll see. But I do think of the overall base roster, he is the one. He has to perform well this year. No matter what the Ravens do or don't do in the postseason, he has to be able to stay healthy, or they're not going to keep him. Um, So yeah. And then the Seahawks came in at number 22. Um
I think
and on the hot seat they have Geno Smith.
I think that's
So Brendan,
insultingly low. I think that's insultingly low for the Seahawks. Um, I understand. There's a lot of new stuff happening in Seattle. You have Mike McDonald taking over, new head coach, first time head coach. You have Ryan Grubb on offense as the offensive coordinator, first time NFL offensive coordinator. You have Aiden Dirty as the defense coordinator, first time defensive coordinator. A lot of new, a lot of first, a lot of stuff. Um, I think this roster is better than 22nd in the league. I 100% believe that. And I think the way McDonald's been playing right now and has his defense playing right now, has his defense looking just better than last year. I think 22 is insultingly low. Um, I think they could easily be top. I don't want to say top 10 because they're not there, but like top 15, top. I'm looking at some of the teams here. Like the Jets are at 15 right now. Um,
Crazy. That's crazy.
the Jets that are dysfunctional, the Jets that
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers might not like. He'll be back, but he's coming off
Who
an
knows for
Achilles
how long?
tear. Who knows? He's older, coming off an Achilles tear. Who knows what he's going to do? So for them to be at 15, I don't really understand that. Pittsburgh is at 16. You're telling me Pittsburgh better than Seattle right now? Like actually, you're telling me that? So that already, I'm like whatever. The Bears are at 17. Caleb Williams is a rookie. I think Caleb Williams will probably do all right. I'm kind of hoping he does all right. But he's still a rookie. Who knows what happens? How are the Bears? Like Matt Eberflus has not been great in his time with the Bears, and I don't understand how they're ranked ahead of the Seahawks. I just feel like the Seahawks are insultingly low on this list. I also feel like the Falcons are insultingly low on this list because I just looked; they're at 19. So just like I don't know how I feel about this list. I feel like the top of the list makes sense, but the further down I get, the more I'm like, what are we doing? But yeah, Seahawks being on 22, just I think is insultingly low. I kind of understand Geno Smith being the hot seat. Um, I don't see anyone else there being on a hot seat. Like I think Schneider, McDonald, all those other coaches are pretty well safe since, especially Schneider, had a great has had a couple good drafts back to back to back. Hired McDonald, so and then McDonald's fresh head coach. So unless you really suck, you're probably not gonna get fired your
Unless
first
you
year.
lose that locker room,
Yeah,
which is not.
I don't
He's
think
been
he's
around players for a long time. That's not going
and
to be something he does.
based on like he has the locker room. Like in tennis, they did their rookie um talent show in Tennessee at some like barbecue bar thing. Look
Hmm.
kind of, but everyone's come out and been like that is probably one of the best. Like all the vets have come out and is like that was one of the better events we've ever done. It was really fun, really cool. McDonald and the staff set that one up, so McDonald's winning that locker room. So I don't think McDonald will lose it. So for Gino to be the hot seat, I think just make like there's no other option. I feel like so if
Yeah.
Geno Smith has a really bad year, there's an out in his contract that you can trigger, and he'll be out of there with very little dead cap. Like for him to be the hot seat is not necessarily surprising, especially when you see like they have Sam Howell as a backup, and he's been playing pretty well in the preseason. Again, I don't see this happening. I think we'll have a good season. I think 22 is insultingly low. It like I don't really know what they're
No, I
based.
mean,
And the reason I'm also seeing that is I'm looking at the article. There's
yeah,
nothing there that tells me why they're at 22.
no.
And
I'm I'm confused by this list because they have the Raiders at 27. They just named a career backup as their starter. Like, at least when Gino was named the starter, he'd been with that team for a very long time.
like
Like, they have the Broncos at 31. I'm I'm confused.
they have New England ahead
Um
of them. Like
yeah, like
this list
what
is
the
just
hell is New England done at 30? Like okay, Carolina at 32, I get. But like I'm just confused by this list. And then okay, the Raiders are at 27 and they have Devonte Adams on the hot seat.
yeah, it
Like if Devonte Adams leaves that team it's cuz he's over their bullshit.
yeah, I
It's
don't
not because the Raiders go, "Oh, he's not good enough anymore." It is the list is kind of crazy. It's a little insane. Um,
like it's just a weird list. It's
I
just a
appreciate
weird
that the Ravens are at 2, but you
again,
also have to have validity through the entire list.
from like 13 up to the top, I
Yeah.
understand. Like, I get all of them. Like, you got, you know, teams that should be there. And then you hit 14, and I immediately go, okay, it's a weird one with
I'm a
the
little confused.
Jaguars, but, whatever.
You said 13 up. I'm a little confused with Dallas coming in at 11. They've had a terrible offseason. Like, you don't know if you're gonna have
Yeah,
your only wide receiver available. Like, what are we talking? What
ass-
is this based off of?
yeah, assuming certain things, I like
And they
the
have Jerry Jones on the hot seat for Dallas.
yeah.
How's that possible? He owns the team. Who's gonna fire him? The
Dude,
the correct answer is it even said first sentence is the easy answer is Coach Mike McCarthy, and then maybe Dak Prescott.
no,
That is
McCarthy.
correct.
McCarthy is the answer, but yeah,
Like
like
Jerry Jones is on the hot seat, y'all.
I
Their
don't,
team just valued at $10 billion, but
I don't,
clearly
yeah,
owners
I don't understand
is
any part of
crazy.
this. I don't get it. It's weird. I don't understand,
It's confused.
but I'm just gonna move on because I'm mildly enraged at what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
really quickly because I was on Twitter just now because I thought
Okay,
it was important. Uh,
let's do it.
because I wanted to check it while we were on air. Connor Williams is practicing. It just came out
Oh,
that he's
that's
doing some
exciting.
practice stuff. So for the Seahawks fans, Connor Williams, center, practicing, could be ready for Week 1. Exciting. The offensive
Awesome.
line's getting
Awesome
better.
things.
The offensive line that was ranked 32nd by somebody is getting offensive line that was ranked worse than the Commanders, the Bears, the Jets,
The Giants.
yeah. Jesus fucking Christ. I don't understand why people hate Seattle all of a sudden.
I think sometimes honestly, this is an honest to God
I
opinion.
no
I
say it.
think sometimes when they make these lists, they look at the name, your draft ranking, and college stats, and they go, okay, in theory, on paper, this is maybe where you sit. But nobody actually watched you play football.
Yeah.
So the Giants are like, oh yeah, they're like a top 15 on paper. They're garbage. It's garbage. It's a garbage O line. It's terrible. It's not good. I don't know where you're getting
Who
that from.
I am. I'm sitting like our O line wasn't
Uh,
great last year. I would say we upgraded from last year though.
but it was not worse in the league. There's
No,
no way.
it
There's
wasn't.
no way you watched the Giants play
We were
football and thought they have an okay O line.
we
It's
were
okay.
bottom 20. I think we were at like 24th.
Yeah,
But
and
like
that's fair.
that's fine.
But it's
That's where I think
you
we're at
know,
right now. I think we're in the bottom 20. I think Connor Williams does upgrade it. I think as it sits now, without Abe Lucas at right tackle, I think the Seahawks offensive line is bottom 20. I think across the board, if you have Cross, Tomlinson, Williams, Bradford, Lucas, I think that could be a top 20 offensive line. We haven't seen it together though. That's the issue.
yeah,
Like, I don't know why we're ranking them 32nd though. I don't remember who did it. I just saw it. They ranked like all the position groups,
it's crazy.
and I sat there and went, "Why are they ranked 32nd?"
Yeah,
There are
that's
other teams that suck at offensive line. The Commanders allowed the most sacks last year.
yeah. He got hit a lot. The Bengals never have a great O line. That's crazy.
The Seahawks
Crazy.
had 7 or wait, was it 8? I don't remember. The Seahawks had like 8 sacks in a game against the Giants. 8.
Accurately ranked by some jagoff that clearly doesn't know sports.
And what's worse is like the rest of the lists made sense. Like the Seahawks had like the third or fourth best wide receiver room. That makes sense. They
I
had
agree with that.
like the 15th quarterback room. That makes sense.
Yeah,
They had the like everything made sense until I got to the offensive line, and then I sat there and went, none of this makes like it doesn't. So it just was. I don't know. The Seahawks
that's fair.
people hate
I
them or something.
almost think you have a top 10 quarterback room. And the reason I'm going to say this, is no, you do not have a top 10 quarterback.
I think
but I think you very clearly have a solid backup.
I honestly think he was ranking quarterbacks off of the starting quarterback only.
Okay. Well, when we talk quarterback room, the backup is
Yeah.
relevant. When 62 quarterbacks took snaps last
No,
year, it's important.
it is.
Like a good backup, I do think elevates a room significantly.
I just think he did specify that like he's only ranking like the starters for the quarterback.
Okay, well then
And
yeah, sure, 15.
15 makes a little bit of sense. Like
Yeah,
um
maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, depending on your preference. But yeah, 15, acceptable. 32nd at O line's crazy. That's crazy.
I just it I'll live. You can count us out all you want. I don't really care. But
I said it's not like to dog on the Seahawks, but with all the changes, some
yeah,
concerns at O line, I expect you to come in at third in your division
and I would agree
this
with
year.
that.
But that's if you do it with a winning record, you know, a new head coach, all of an aging quarterback, all of those things, it's perfectly respectable. That's perfectly
I think I've said
respectable.
this. I think we'll go 9-8 again this year. I think we'll go. I could see it. I said this. I was like, we could go nine. I think 9-8 is what we'll get do. And then I was like, our floor is like 5-12. Our ceiling is like 12-5. I think
Yeah.
9-8 is where we'll be at. I think that's like pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean a lot of new, and like a drastic new, like new head
yeah,
coaches. That's into especially in places like Seattle or if Baltimore got a new head coach. You know, when a
New
lot of the
England.
old guard, yeah, that's crazy. Like they've been a coach for a very long time. For someone else to come in and make changes, even positive ones, that takes time.
Yeah. I'm kind of all right with Seattle being overlooked, even though I do think this is insultingly low. Uh,
Yeah, that's
but
disrespectful.
I think McDonald as a coach, and I think the Seahawks as a team right now, I think their identity might become no one thinks we'll do anything, so let's play it with the chip on our shoulder and let's go out there and show them. I think that fits with Gino as a quarterback. I think that fits with a lot of this team as people. Uh,
Mhm.
so I do. I think that kind of might be the identity this year as a team, which I don't know. That could be. That's why I think our ceiling might be higher. Is teams that play with a chip on their shoulder sometimes do just better.
Yeah.
They have something more to
When
play for.
teams like it's not but like when teams don't expect much from you, their prep goes down, their intensity in practice goes down, and then they show up to a game not quite prepared for what you want to bring.
Yeah. So
And so I think 12-5 is a realistic ceiling. You know, I think 5-12 is unlikely.
no,
Uh, but
but
I
I
get it as a floor. I do get it. And then, you know, that's kind of me this season is I don't know what this team is going to look like in the regular season. I know that Lamar has a great win percentage. He's worth a lot of points. I think offensively they're good. There are a lot of changes defensively. I just got a new O line coach. You know, two is cool to say, but it's a lot of new. It's a lot of changes. We have to see what happens.
yeah
And I think you and I have the benefit of we are realistic fans. You know, that's kind of
yeah
always our claim to it. Is we don't. I am not sitting here going the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl no
yeah.
matter what.
I'm not a Cowboys fan.
Like,
Like this year
yeah,
is our year.
like I would like it to be. I would really really like it to be. Like I would like that to be Lamar's kind of legacy. Is his first Super Bowl was stuffing the Chiefs um on the three-peat. I would enjoy the crap out of that. Um show Nick Wright the freaking Lamar board, all the disrespect. Um but I got to be realistic here.
Yeah.
And the reality is they could go 17-0 in the regular season and I would still be nervous come playoff time.
Yeah.
Like that's the reality. Is me and Todd Monken need to have a chat about how we organize our offense in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I do think it helps that we're realistic. Um, I'm hoping to enjoy this football season. I'm concerned that I'm either going to be depressed or apathetic. Not because they're not playing well, but because I'm like, if you
The
play well, I
playoffs
think
matter.
that and it makes me like last year I was so high. I was so high. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this defense is destroying people. Lamar looks great. I'm so happy." And then they went and did that. Then
Yeah.
that happened. I watched them play the Chiefs and I was like, "Well, this felt like shit." So I think this year, if they have a really good season, regular season, I'm gonna be like, don't do this to me again. Don't stop. So I would rather, as a fan, them have like a middle of the pack season.
Just make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, like just like be the, make it to the playoffs and then show me who you are. Show me that we've stuck to our identity. Um, Especially this year, which has potential because you and I have talked about it. I'm just because we have time. I'm gonna get into it. The Joe Burrow conversation
Oh.
all off season. Burrow's back. Burrow's back. Bengals are gonna win the North. Just so we're clear, Lamar and Burrow. This is not an edge to either one. There's a mild edge, but we're gonna get to that. Lamar and Burrow have never truly had to battle each other for the North. Okay, it's very Game of Thrones esque. They have never had to fight each other for the North. The 2 years Burrows won it, Lamar missed the last several weeks. And Huntley couldn't get it done. That's what they've done. That's who they are. The years Lamar has won it, Burrow's been hurt. So the Ravens took the edge. The two of them have never been fully healthy for the same seasons to then see who's going to come out on top. Now, Lamar in matchups has the edge. Lamar is 4-1 against Burrow. I believe 8-1. 8-1 as a whole against the Bengals. He plays really well against them. He kind of has their number. But it's a new season. They have an extremely difficult season or schedule this season. They're playing a lot of former playoff teams. They're playing a lot of games on short weeks, a lot of travel, not as much as Seattle, I believe, but still quite a bit.
For once.
So it's a tough road this year. Do I necessarily expect the number one seed in the AFC? No. I do think the Bengals come in with the slight edge of they have an easier schedule versus Lamar has the edge of he kind of has the Bengals number. So this is really the first year we get to see this. We get to see them duke it out. Hopefully. They both have to stay healthy. That's the goal.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. But if you're sitting at home going, well, the Bengals are going to win the North because Burrow wins the North, Lamar wins the North just as well. Neither one of them have had to fight each other for it. So I'm excited for that. Um, I'm a, but I'm scared of the playoffs right now. Not because of Lamar. It's not Lamar's fault. It's a little Lamar's fault, but it's not entirely his fault. It's not. I would say it's like 95 offensive coordinator, 3 Lamar, 2 everybody else.
Okay.
Okay, the O-line's penalties skyrocket in the playoffs. Don't come at me that it's just Lamar.
I was never said it was just Lamar. I think 95. I
It's
think
the whole
I think
offense.
I think 3% for him is a little bit low. You
No,
know,
I like it. I like it. 3%. It's on him.
10. I'll give you 10%.
So, but so yeah, I'm just concerned that I'm going to be apathetic this season. That I mean, there are things I'm going to be looking for, things I want of them, and I want to see. I'm excited to see Henry in a Ravens uniform. I'm excited to see what Zach Orr's defense is going to do. But um, it just doesn't matter to me. Like as long as they're in the wild card game, that's going to be what matters.
Mhm.
That's going to be where I start to be like, crap.
Mm,
So,
well, it's
yeah,
understandable.
they, they
I
came in at 2 with this jagged list, this messed up list. Um, I don't think it's unfair, but it just doesn't matter. I don't think it matters right now.
no, but yeah, and
And I do think they're playing with a chip on their shoulder still. Um, I think I'm gonna be honest. I kind of think the NFL did them a favor by pitting the Chiefs against them week 1. Like having to watch the banner that everyone thought you would be hosting, having to sit there and see that, I would be so pissed. It would be like, okay, okay, now people are getting hurt. Like now we're gonna fuck some shit up. Um, but there's continuous Lamar doubters. People are doubting the team despite this list of they lost so much and the O line and are they going to be able to do these things and the playoff problems that I think they're still rolling with all of that. But I'm just I would say their floor is 10-7. I would say their ceiling is maybe 14-3. Um, they just kind of always lose to Pittsburgh. I don't know. I don't. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because there's a Watt on the other side. I don't know what that is, but they just never. And the one difference we'll see this year is they do not play Pittsburgh the last week. They play the Bengals. Um, so we'll see who all's actually in that game and whether it will matter. Um, but I just kind of assume they're going to lose both of their Pittsburgh games. Um, and then I think they play a lot of playoff teams. I think a loss to the Browns in Cleveland is feasible. Um, I know they play the Cowboys at home. I don't think they're going to lose that game with the way the Cowboys are in disarray. Um, yeah, I would say their ceiling is 14-3, vying for the 1 or 2 spot in the AFC.
yeah.
And then yeah, I'd say their low is 10-7 as the wild card coming out of the AFC North.
Hmm. Yeah, I could really see those both happening. Um,
I think if they go 10-7, the Bengals have won the North, but they have an easier schedule. Just so we're clear.
realistically, I see them being like a 12-5. I think that's
Yeah,
like a
I think realistically I see like 12-5 um with a plus or minus differential of about 1. Like if they
yeah.
went 13-4, I'd be like, okay. Like that's one less win than they had last year. I think if they went 11-6, I'd be like, okay, like it is a hard schedule. The only thing that gives me kind of confidence there is watching them last year. They went from game to London to game. They always have a late round bye. They like it that way. I like it that way. I think we see it keeps them healthier. Um, So, yeah, I'm excited, hesitant. I just kind of like it to be playoff football. Just like I would like them to have to play a playoff game and then start the season.
I'd almost
And
say
I guess that's week 1 with the Chiefs. The only thing I don't
um,
like about it
it's week
is
one.
it's week 1 and the Chiefs play their starters in preseason.
Yeah,
The Ravens don't. So the Chiefs are coming into week 1 prepared.
yeah, more ready.
And I'm not saying the Ravens won't be, but okay, they played the Texans week 1 last year. It took them a little bit to get going. Um, so, it's yes, you have that game early. Yes, I think you're going to be extremely motivated by seeing the banner raising. But if they lose, I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, that's the playoffs. If they don't run the ball, I'm a freak out. I'm going to get on here and just yell for 2.5 hours. I promise you.
See, I guess
That will
that's
be our episode that week, as I will just rant for 2.5 hours
I guess thanks
about how
for
we didn't run the goddamn ball.
thanks for the warning,
So,
cuz
but if I see progress, I would say if they stick to their identity week 1, even if they lose, I'll be happy.
yeah, that I definitely kind of agree with you with Seattle. It I'm not expecting a whole ton this season. Again, everything's new, everything's different. I think we have a really good roster, but at the end of the day, coaching does make a difference. So I'm just excited to see everything. I don't know, like for me this season, I'm less excited to see wins and losses, and more excited to see like how we improved on last season.
Yeah.
Which I think is huge. That's why like even if we go 5-12, like I said, depending on how that 5-12 happens, it's a good season. Like if the defense looks better, if McDonald like there's clear improvement going on, which I think if there's improvement, we don't go 5-12. But like still, if there's clear like defensive improvement, the offense looks a little more consistent at times. Um, I think yeah, but we won't go 12-5 if that or 5-12 if that happens. But still, like depending on the situation, 5-12 for me is still like it was a good-ish like
It was
it's
still successful. Like, just because
yeah,
you didn't stack wins doesn't mean progress wasn't made.
yeah. So I'm not overly worried with Seattle's like win loss record. I I'm just here to watch them improve. I'm here to watch Mike McDonald's defense in Seattle, and I'm just here to watch football. I guess I don't. Like,
Yeah,
that's how I feel about
that's fair.
Seattle this year. Is I just want to watch it. I just want to see it. I just want to see what we do. If we improve, if we regress, if we stagnate. I just wanna see it.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Um, I think we both have we're looking for different things, but as much as I'm concerned about the apathy for this season. I don't think I've ever been more excited for an NFL season as a whole.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Like, with all of the drastic head coaching changes, which were crazy, by the way. Like, we talked about, like, with Belichick, um,
Carroll,
Carroll. There was another one that I was like, oh, Vrahall,
Vrabel.
like Vrahall. I don't know where I got that.
I don't know either.
Like, with all of that going out, we saw it like 3 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, with kind of the old guard of quarterbacks moving out.
Hmm.
And now you've kind of got the old guard of coaching and all of this younger talent. You know, there are 5 rookie quarterbacks projected to potentially start at some point this season. 4 because McCarthy's hurt. And then you think about like who's in your top 5, top 10 quarterbacks. They're all really young.
Yeah.
Like, even Mahomes, who's been in the league, I believe, the longest of your top 5, except maybe Stafford if you have him in the top 5. As the oldest, he's still young. He's still doing incredible things. To see all of this youth and all of these changes with new ownership to Washington that's been a dumpster fire, to see all of these teams making these climbs, a wide open NFC. Um, I'm just really excited. Um, with new kickoff rules, the guard, all of these changes, all of these things that are happening in the NFL, no matter what I feel about the Ravens, I'm just excited for football. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like every year I'm antsy, I'm like, okay, come on, come on, come on. I feel even more like that this year. Like, I'm just like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I want to see everybody start. I want the starters.
Yeah.
Like, the preseason is just not cutting it. I'm
I
like, okay, your cut, your cut, your cut. Maybe you'll make it. Let's move on.
yeah.
Like,
That was like the nice thing about Seahawks first week is like with the defensive starting playing. Like I
yeah,
got to see a lot of starters kind of help
yeah,
settle me in a little bit. But I'm like I need Geno Smith on the field throwing DK Metcalf. That's what I need right now.
yeah.
Like I just
Like, I need Lamar out there. I need
uh,
Roquan. I need Roquan like out there firing the guys up, screaming. Um,
but yeah.
I I just need to see it. Like, I'm watching Josh Johnson throw passes, and I'm like, you're boring.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
where's my QB1? I'm talking about Owen Wright, and I'm like, I want the king. Like, I signed the king. Give him to me. Like, let
That
me
yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
Like, you gave me Derek. You gave me. I have probably one of the best backfields in the NFL. I need to see it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Like
Wright and Ollie splitting reps for who's going to be QB3. I don't it's not good enough. Not
I feel it.
like
I do.
I need Lamar, I need Henry. I even want Mitchell back. Like, I get it. He's on the public, but like, come on. I'll take Justice Hill. That's fine. That's fine. Just give me somebody.
Nope. Yeah. Completely understand that. Um,
So, yeah, I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready. Um, moving on from football,
yeah.
um, the WNBA has returned to our screens now that the Olympics are over and the All-Star break has passed. So we're just going to talk a little news there. Caitlin Clark set the record for assists by a rookie in a single season this past week, which was pretty exciting. Angel Reese also set the record or broke the record for rebounds by a rookie. She did do it in a loss, so she was not as excited by her record breaking, but it is really great to see, these two women just hit this league and take it by storm. Their drama or their rivalry is just to see what they're doing on the court has been awesome. Caitlin and the Fever are 2-0 coming out of this break. She is playing phenomenally. I said it, I think the first episode. I didn't think she was snubbed, but I did think it was a disservice to women's basketball. And then I kind of course corrected of she clearly needs the break. You're seeing it.
Yeah.
You're seeing what the time off has done for her. It's incredible. It's a little Curry, it's a little LeBron. I pass first, I shoot well. Um, it's awesome to see. I'm so excited. I think they're currently ranked 7th in the league with a 12 team playoff run. There are only 14 teams, I think, but it was still a high number. I'll know the answer for sure next week. I promise you guys. Um, so they are definitely looking for a playoff berth. But she just looks incredible. They're playing with a lot of energy. You can tell they're really gelling. I think there were some times last year you could tell they weren't quite on the same page. They very much are right now. I'm excited. The Liberty were the first team to clinch the playoff berth for the WNBA. They've been the best team in the league. They have the best record. Um, they have AJ Wilson, who's projected to be league MVP for the season. It's if you're just looking for good women's basketball, they're a great team to turn on. Um, I'm not gonna sit here and think I think the Fever will win in the playoffs. Um, but I think it'll be a really good playoff run. I'm excited to see it. I mentioned I mentioned that I thought it was a disservice to women's basketball. I believe I will be proven right or wrong in the next 2 months. Here's what happened. Caitlin Clark was left off the Olympic team. Okay, I got over it. I moved on with my life. She moved on. She had a nice break. We're seeing its benefits. From Tokyo to Paris, the ratings on every event were up. They had great ratings at every event. Even breakdancing went well, and that was a travesty on certain fronts.
Yeah.
Women's basketball is the only sport that declined in ratings compared to Tokyo.
Okay.
Now, I think that's potentially a twofold thing. I think if you were watching men's basketball, there were some moments you thought, "Oh, maybe Serbia will give them a run. Maybe Germany will give them a run. Maybe
France.
France. Maybe they'll have some competition." Nobody really thought that about the women's team. You were like,
No.
"They're going to win. They're going to win every game. It's not even going to be close. Let's move on with our lives." That wasn't what happened, but that was the thought, so maybe you didn't feel like you needed to watch it. The other thing was, well, Caitlin was left off. I don't care. I was concerned of you're out of sight, out of mind, that now women's basketball had taken this break. Caitlin was on break. Maybe we won't have quite the revitalization when they come back. In 2 months, as a viewer, you will have to make a genuine choice on what to watch.
Hmm.
Right now, there's not a whole ton. It's preseason football, which you and I don't even watch a whole ton of. I watch a
Yeah.
condensed replay of the Ravens game and four other teams, and that's it.
If it's on, I'll watch live games. I
Yeah,
watch live Seahawks games because they're my team. But at the end of the day, I don't watch a ton of preseason football. It's just kind of
we
boring. It's not my
were
thing.
at we were at work together Saturday.
Yeah.
I was sitting in my office. You came in and you were like, "Oh, I thought maybe you had the Ravens game on." I was like, "It doesn't matter. I'll watch the condensed replay when I go home," and that's what I did.
Yeah.
Like, had no idea what was happening live. Didn't even know the score. Um, so it's baseball, women's basketball, and preseason football right now is the only real choice you have to make.
Hmm.
So women's basketball wins. That's easy. For me, that's easy.
Yeah.
In 2 months, you have college football, NBA, NFL. It's a election year, so all the bullshit that's there. Hockey will be starting. Now that doesn't garner a ton of views, but it is still something that's on.
But
You
the
and I are
people,
hockey fans.
but the people that watch hockey religiously watch.
Religiously watch it. Now you have a choice to make
Yeah.
of what to watch and what to skip. And my concern is that the WNBA will fall by the wayside. And you'll start to see maybe Caitlyn doesn't have quite the impact she was. Not because she's not great, not because she's not a superstar, but because now you have to make a choice.
Hmm.
I watch The Herd every day.
Hmm.
I was listening to him this morning while at work. I was listening to their episode. He had an interesting point. He thinks the MLB will lose this fight. That it's the MLB versus the WNBA. As ESPN is vying for packages on who they're going to show,
Hmm.
who they're going to And in the WNBA, you have Caitlin Clark. It's cheaper, it's shorter games. Why not? The MLB is doing things to clearly try and stay relevant. They added the pitch clock. You have Shohei Ohtani. Um, you have all of these great things. So as networks make these choices, I think we're going to see Caitlin's true impact as well as Caitlin's continued relevance. Not because she's not, and not because people won't still flock to games if she's in your city, but will those ratings stay where they were?
Mm.
And did the WNBA potentially cash a check it can't write? They got private flights this year. They did a lot of things knowing a superstar was going to hit the league. And so I've said a few times, I think leaving her off the team was a disservice to women's basketball. I think in the next 2 months, I'm going to
We're
be proven right or wrong.
yeah, we'll find out. Um,
I don't know the answer. I'm not even theorizing right now. Um, I'm just kind of bringing it up as, will their playoffs, the fact that those games matter, be enough?
we'll see. I don't want to theorize too much, but I kind of have my prediction of what will
I
happen.
have I have a prediction. Um, I have a thing.
Do it.
Okay. Um, I think this is crazy, and I get it's crazy, and we're not gonna get this, at least not anytime soon.
Okay.
But a lot of leagues are making changes to stay relevant.
Yeah.
The NFL is trying to make the kickoff relevant.
Hmm.
The NBA is letting players be a little bit more aggressive and less whistleblowing. The MLB is using a pitch clock.
Try to make the game faster.
Yeah, we're trying to make the game faster. We're trying to make it more relevant. We're trying to do all these things. I think any sport that plays a series in the playoffs should come down to 5 games. And here's why I think this. We watched playoff hockey.
Hmm.
We watched playoff basketball.
Hmm.
Most went to 5 games anyway. And TV networks and sports, they build packages based off 6 game series.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare nowadays. It's not uncommon, it does happen, but we saw so many NHL games and so many NBA games go 4-1. I think you would keep viewers more interested in a series if we shortened it. Not extensively. I'm not saying let's go 3 games or let's just make it a one and out. Basketball and baseball and hockey are series for a reason. But I think if you cut every series to 5 and you built packages based off 4 game series, you would see an increase in viewership. I think you would do better financially. And I think your casual viewers or your playoff viewers would stay more interested for longer.
Okay. I mildly disagree.
Okay.
There's a
Okay.
couple things. I don't disagree with the idea that like if you shortened it, you might have a increase in viewership and maybe more viewers watch long term. But I also think there is something about a game 7, just game 7. If it gets to game 7, watching a game 7 is the most electrifying, stressful horseshit on the planet.
And you
Especially,
don't think a game 5 at 2-2 would have the same effect?
honestly, no,
Okay.
because you have to win 3. I think
Hmm.
on it's because of the like you've gone 3 games against like it's the amount you've
Okay.
raised it so much, like the bar so much. I think game 5 will be if you shortened it, Game 5 would be along the same lines. I just don't think it'll quite get the
It just doesn't
excitement.
have quite the dramatic punch
Yeah,
that
especially
Game
like
7 has.
because I feel like especially when you have like 3-1s or like there's been not a ton of 3-0s, but like 3-1s where teams come back to force a Game 7. I think that's where it. Whereas like a 2-1 to force a Game 5 doesn't feel as much of a like comeback, or like a
I
2-0.
gotcha.
I don't know if it feels as much of a like I feel like that 3-1 0-3, that's a comeback to get to Game 7. So I do. I
Okay.
feel like Game 7 just has this like energy, excitement, and just anxiousness that I don't know if you can replicate with
That's fair.
anything. I
That's
even
fair.
feel like Game 7s are more than like a one and done game. Like with the NFL, I feel like an NFL playoff game compared to a Game 7, I think a Game 7 has more like higher energy, higher hype, higher anxiousness than an NFL game. I think like the Super Bowl obviously is going to be
Yeah,
higher
I mean,
because
that's a whole different thing. You've got an
yeah,
entire group of people that could fill a country that watch it for the halftime show and the commercials. Like, I don't know that
yeah.
anything can rival the Super Bowl.
But I think Game 7's over like NFL playoff games in terms of like excitement level stuff.
No, that's fair.
Like,
That's fair. The only thing that gets me,
mhm,
okay, and it's not a comment on any sport. Just so we're clear, I'm not saying the NBA is wrong. Like, what the hell do I know compared to a league that's been around that long? Like, what the like, I'm not qualified to make that kind of like change.
yeah,
But as Americans, like as a nation, our attention span gets shorter and shorter. Like, we live on TikTok with 15-second videos. I get mad when a TikTok video is too long. I'm like, get to the point, bro. Like, that's who we are. That's what we do. I get annoyed with some of my talk shows because they're so long they repeat segments.
yeah.
I'm
That's
like, you could
annoying.
just cut out the repeats and be an hour shorter, and that would be okay. That would be acceptable. So I can't help but wonder. I'm not saying do it. I'm not saying that I think this change is coming. I don't think that's the case. But for all of these leagues and all of these organizations that are trying to keep people interested, I wouldn't be shocked if something like that happened. If that's a way you keep people invested.
The other reason I don't think so is a lot of these leagues used to be the change to 7 games in the NBA happened relatively recently.
Yeah.
In the NBA, there used to be only like the first round I think was best of 3, and the second round was a
Well,
best of
that's too short.
yeah. Then the second round was a best of 5, and then they went to best of
I
seven.
like
Like
5.
so, we've already
But like
seen this, so that's why I I don't think it'll ever happen. But that's why I
that's fair.
kind of like
And that's,
I just don't agree with. I don't know if it'll be better considering
and
we've
that's fair.
seen it, and I don't know if it was better.
And that's fair. And I mean, again, I'm not saying I think they're going to do it. I just I personally, as a casual viewer of some of those sports, could, especially like when my team's not in it. Like, now that, okay, we'll take hockey. I think hockey's a great example
Okay,
because hockey is one of the least watched sports in America.
yeah,
Um, I love hockey.
same.
If the Avs are not in the playoffs, I do not have the patience for a 7-game series. I don't. I'm not doing it. I don't. If Game 7 happens, maybe I'll turn it on. But, like, you would keep me for longer as a hockey fan with a shorter series. Like, So I'm not saying they're gonna. I can't help but wonder if it would have an impact,
Hmm.
a positive impact. I definitely think there's potential for a negative impact. I definitely think there's
Yeah,
that.
that's what. Yeah,
But I can't help but wonder because I think about like the sports on like basketball when basketball playoffs were happening. As someone that was really invested, I found myself only watching games that mattered, that could define a series. Other games I was watching highlights or recaps because they don't have quite the impact. And I'm a diehard sports fan. So I don't know if there are more people like me that are like maybe cut the series and you will get me to a TV faster and more consistently, or if they're more like you where I'm in for 7 games.
yeah.
I'm I don't know the answer. I would have to assume there are more people like you because that's what we currently do.
I think yeah,
But I just don't know.
yeah. I would assume based on the fact that we changed to a 7 game series and that's where we're currently at and where we've been at for a few years. I think more people probably lean on that side, but I don't know. Like it,
So I just would I don't know. Hot take, I guess, is I would take every sport that's a 7. Yeah, I'd bring it down to 5. Let's just see what happens.
yeah, I don't.
Like I'm sure there's data that's run on those things. I'm sure there's
Yeah,
but
there has to be like
I
as
mean
a
I
league. Yeah, yeah, must.
you would have to think. But yeah, I just what I would maybe do.
Well,
But it
yeah,
does. It's gonna launch the conversation here in a couple months of who's getting the viewership, who's getting the ratings.
yeah.
Um,
Because yeah,
is
you're only battling like right
right now you're
now.
not battling anything except for baseball.
You're battling baseball, and there's one other sport, and you're not really battling it because it's English soccer.
Yeah,
I'm the only one in the world, or not the world. I'm one of the only people that actually actively watch that.
in the
Um,
U.S. Yeah,
really, where was it? Yeah, you're battling with English soccer, which not a ton of people watch. You're battling with baseball, which has its following in America, but it's kind of declining as a watched sport. Like it, you're not battling a ton of things. Like English
no,
soccer just started this weekend. I kind of want to talk a little bit more about that because I love soccer. That's my
do it.
thing. Um,
Talk to us.
yeah, like
I'd like to note they don't have a 7 game series. That's not how they just one and done.
they don't even do playoffs in England.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Shows you what I know
it's
about English
so
soccer or European
just really
soccer.
quickly to explain this. European soccer works off a so let's say last year the Ravens would have won the league. They would have been crowned champions for having the best record.
Let's move to that system.
So yeah, so European soccer works on like a point system. So if you win a game, you get
Oh,
three
that's right.
points. If you tie a game, you get 1 point. If you lose a game, you get no points. So whoever has the
Okay.
most points at the end of the season is crowned champion. So yeah, they don't even do a playoff system. They do like tournaments at times that are set up like what you saw with the Euros if you watch that, or Olympic soccer is set up how like a tournament would be set up. So they do that where they have single elimination or they have like a group stage where you play like all the people in that stage, top teams in those points move on, and then you go to single elimination. That's how soccer works with tournaments. But as a league, which is what the English league is called, like the Premier League is what it's called, their like champion is decided off the point system. Um, um, yeah, I love soccer. That's my second love.
Well,
Football's first.
there was some news in soccer this year. I heard, or
Yeah,
this week, right? I heard that the USA team got a new coach.
they did. Mauricio Pochettino, the former Spurs from the English Premier League and PSG manager from the French league agreed, has not signed yet, to be the U.S. men's national team new head coach. I think that's an interesting one. He has 2 years to get the men's team ready for the 2026 World Cup, which is here in the States. I'm really excited about that. That'll be really fun. Probably want to go to a couple of those games, especially because some of them will be in our area.
Yeah,
Will be up. Um,
we looked that up. I'm I'm not as big of a soccer fan, but I'm a member of a soccer family.
yeah.
So I was informed. I was not asked. I was informed that my family's going whether I go or not.
Yeah.
So,
Here's the thing though, it's the World Cup. It's the time for like non-soccer
yeah,
fans to be soccer fans. Um, yeah. But yeah. English Premier League started this weekend. I watched that pretty much every weekend. I just like it. It's fun. My favorite team's West Ham, for anyone wondering. But yeah. Nothing. They lost this weekend, so not a great weekend for me. Um,
and you keep an eye. You've been keeping an eye on Wrexham now
Yes, I have been.
with
Since Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney own them, been keeping a bit of an eye on them. Can't really watch any of their games because they're not televised here. Um, but I just keep an eye on scores, what they're doing, who they have, what they're um what they're playing like. Uh, so soccer's definitely one. Got any questions? Got anything you want to know about soccer? I'm the
Let's tell
guy
us how
here.
you feel about the new head coach. You said it was interesting. Are you excited? Are you nervous? Are you
I would say excited. Based on his time at Tottenham and PSG, he comes with a ton of pedigree. He's coached some big clubs in Europe. There's a reason though that he doesn't coach there anymore. Uh,
okay?
he plays a very specific style. So soccer is not like football with like you have an offensive head coach, a defensive head coach, and like a special teams head coach. You have like head coaches that play styles. So Pochettino tends to play more of a possession, keep the ball, pass it around, look for your opportunities within that system. He wants to keep the ball, play with the ball, and just have it. Other teams tend to play more of a counter-attacking where they play a very good defense and then take their opportunities to rush up the field and score. That's not the style he'll be playing. That is the style Berhalter kind of played. Berhalter's a weird one. He didn't really have a style, but like, so it's definitely gonna be a change. Possession football tends to be the better teams. They tend to do a little better, just because they have more of the ball, but they also like because of that, counterattacking teams tend to also kind of do well if their defense is set up for it. That's kind of why there's like this. Each style has a counter to it, and then each counter has a counter. Soccer's really fun tactically if you like get into it. Um, but so for him, it's more of a possession based, keep the ball, pass the ball around, more attacking. That's the word. More attacking based system. So we'll see what that's like. I think the move is probably what needs to be made in terms of defensively. The U.S. kind of struggles at times. So if you play a more attacking based style, that'll probably play more to their strengths and should help them out. So again, there's not really a ton to say on that. Like you have
Until
to
we
see
see
it.
it.
Yeah, you have to see it because it's not like football where you see Mike McDonald, for example, he plays with the Ravens. Like that Ravens defense and the Seahawks defense look really similar. They just do. That's that style. Soccer coaches tend to kind of ebb and flow depending on the team and depending on situations. They
Yeah.
don't stick to one style always. Um, so I'm assuming he'll play the style he played in most recently, but he might change. Uh, he might even change up within that style because there's a lot of different styles within that. Um, so I think it's a good hire. I think he could make them better. Um, but really, it's a wait and see type of thing for soccer.
When's because I don't know the answer to this. I'm not just trying to lead him into something, you guys, just so we're clear. When's the first time we'll see him and the US team? Like, is there a tournament or something
I don't
that
know if there's
like
a tournament. There might be. Gold Cup might be coming up, which is just a smaller um, tournament that's held within the like CONCACAF, which is like North America and a little bit of South America. They all play each
you
other.
say so?
I do say so.
I'm taking your word for it.
You should.
If you're wrong, you're gonna sound real stupid.
Um, yeah, they haven't. There's nothing really. There
Okay,
will be a tournament before the World Cup comes up.
gotcha. Okay,
Unfortunately, we won't be able to see like qualifications for the U.S. because they're automatically in since they're hosting.
since they're the hosting country.
This is actually an interesting thing. Really quickly because this is the first time we're doing this is happening in the World Cup. The World Cup's changing a little bit. So one, this is the first time three nations are hosting it together. So Canada, America, and Mexico are all hosting. So there'll be games played in Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, all over those respective countries. They're also expanding. The World Cup is traditionally only 32 teams competing. Uh, 2026, there'll be 64 teams competing, so a major spike in the amount of teams competing.
That's
Um,
crazy.
and then, yeah, host nations automatically qualified because they're the hosts. That's how that works.
Yeah,
So
that's
the U.S., Canada, and Mexico already guaranteed a spot. The rest of that will be decided next year in 2025 for the most part. So we won't really get to see the qualifications for that because they won't do a ton. But there will be like friendlies. There will be probably another tournament. I think they play the Gold Cup in 2025, which is a
okay.
just smaller tournament.
Yeah.
Kind of like not like Copa America. Copa America's bigger. More teams are available for that. The Gold Cup tends to be a smaller group of teams, but that'll be that's what the Gold Cup takes from like islands around the United States and less of
Okay.
like South America.
Gotcha.
So it's more like North America. It's more like Canada, U.S., Mexico, and the smaller countries, south of Mexico and like Central America.
Okay.
So
Cool.
that tournament should be in 2025. So that'll probably be the first time we really see him in a tournament setting. But there'll probably be some international friendlies at some point that'll be his like first real games. But I have no idea
Gotcha.
when those will be because those don't get scheduled that early. But yeah, it'll probably be a little bit before we see him take over. So
Awesome.
um,
Well, sounds like good things are happening all around.
yeah.
Sports should come down to 5 series. Soccer got a new head coach. Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. And the
Whoa, whoa,
Seahawks are going to
whoa.
prove that whoever said they're 22 on the list is stupid.
Yeah.
So, all
Um,
good things.
all good things.
Uh, I do think that wraps it up for us this week.
I think so.
We
Yeah.
hope you enjoyed another show, another week. Hang in there with us. I promise we are just as anxious for regular season football as y'all
Yeah.
probably are. Do not forget to like and subscribe.
And
And
leave comments. Let us know.
yeah,
You want us to talk about WNBA teams? You want us to talk about football teams? You want to talk soccer? You want us to focus on very specific things? Let us know. If there's stuff we missed, let us know. Comments
yeah.
are a great way to do that, and it really does help us figure out what y'all want. Um,
Otherwise, we're just flying by the seat of our pants. We're
yeah,
just
we're just doing what
doing
we
what comes up.
yeah, we're doing Seahawks and we're doing kind of what happens elsewhere. But yeah,
um,
if you want us to focus on specific teams, specific sports, specific whatever, uh, leave a comment.
or you just want to talk to us. We'd love to
Yeah,
talk to y'all. We'd love to, whatever you're thinking, feeling. If you want us to change something up,
Okay.
I know we have some fun things we were gonna do in season, but if there's something you just want to see different or you want us to try, let us know.
Yeah. We are
Um,
open to suggestions as well.
Hell
So,
yeah.
um,
But as always, I am Dallas.
and I am
Thank you.
Brendan, and thank you.
We'll see you next week.